Yo, family. Have we successfully baited? I think we might have done just so. What's up, gang? How are we all doing? Happy Friday to you, lovely lot. Oh, let me take my supplements. Let's do that real quick. Who have we got? We probably got everyone because I baited with the tier list screen on my starting soon screen, didn't I? That's what I'm best at, baby. Right, let me take some magnesium glycinate and some ashwagandha. And then I think I just want to get cracking with the tier list, to be honest. I'm not sure if I'm going to do keys after. We will see. It depends kind of how long this tier list is going to take, because obviously we're doing all of the DPS. You're a sad man. Why is that, Sword? What's up? What's up, big dog? I'm closer now that you're on the screen. Huh? Can we get Smooth FM Friday stream? You can, Rob, but not while I'm doing the tier list, because it will distract me and I'll mess up all my words. I'm going to mess up all my words anyway, so it'll just be more fuel to the fire, and it won't be ideal. So we can get it after. Supplements equals drugs. Ashwagandha, magnesium, bosh. We need the ashwagandha because to fuel and function in this stressful life. Oh, let me pick the mic up real quick right there. Right, who have we got, gang? Let's see. We got LJ, appreciate the follow, my friend as well, Chris as well, thank you. Sorry, what's up? Hunter nerf this time was noticeable. Was it? From what I've seen, Hunter is still on top of meters. We're not doing a power tier list, by the way, though, gang. Just will clarify that first. Happy Friday, Robert. And we got Desi's on deck. What's up? Hello, Red. Seb, how's it going? Jordan, Falk, Cos, Artie, Native. The grey wall is too sexy for me to handle. What was the grey wall? Was that when I had the camera down? Is that what you're talking about? Let me just move these towels. They're not looking very professional, are they? And the rest of my streaming setup looks very professional, so we'll keep it that way, shall we? Let's do that. Look at that, glorious, isn't it? Sick. What's up, Sags? Need to make Shaman S tier one of these days and leave it there for like 2 seasons like they do with Mage. I mean, Eddie's looking pretty strong right now, isn't it? I have no idea what to play. Well, Molesy, I might be able to help you with this little tier list we're doing, my friend. Frost Mage S tier? I assume you guys are thinking this is going to be a power tier list, right? But read the title, dum-dums. The fuck is ashwagandha? I'm sure someone tried to sell me that on the strip in Benidorm. Maybe. It's a natural herb, but obviously it's in a capsule form, and it's just good. It's good for lowering stress and cortisol, and therefore it also increases testosterone. But I've been a stressed boy recently. When am I not a fucking stressed boy, gang? I try and live an easy life. I try and enjoy my time, but life gets in the way, doesn't it? So here we are, smashing back the ashwagandha. Just pass me the whole fucking packet, please. I know, Omega, I'm sorry about that. You can't read? Well, you don't have to read, all right? Because I'm going to place the specs. And you can just decide whether it's an easiest to hardest, whether it's a fun tier list, whether it's a power tier list, whether it's the specs with the most aura. I mean, I guess in a roundabout way, it would be the specs with the most aura, right? As men, we are stressed 24/7 and battle it internally. Stay strong, boys. The better days are around the corner. 07s. Hey, don't we know it? Don't we fucking know it, boys? MM Hunter was never S tier to begin with. That's kind of a crazy take, Sword. That's kind of a crazy take. I mean, like, name a season where VDH wasn't meta. It's the same issue. Cool to see Paladin up again, but sad that Monk and Bear aren't absolutely dominating it. I'd like to see a Brewmaster season. That'd be pretty freaking sick. This is the tier list that matters. It is indeed. We are going to be ranking all of the DPS specs against each other based on fun, okay? We're going to be ranking which are the most fun specs in Season 3 and which are the not so fun specs. We heckin' love some sandbagging. Yeah, but I feel like we don't even realize it's sandbagging, you know? Think I'm sending Havoc. It's fun and it bangs. True, true, true. I might be joining you, Rob. I might be joining you. Ayahuasca versus Ashwagandha. I think they're in slightly different ballparks, aren't they? Isn't like Ayahuasca like takes you to the fucking nether or some shit and like unfolds all your trauma that you didn't even know you had. Tank's pretty close anyway in terms of tankiness. Yeah, I've heard that tank balance and healer balance is pretty good, so we should be good. Okay, first up then, we have the Frost Death Knight. Now, I am pretty certain in the fact that this is the most improved spec coming into Season 3. There are some close contenders, but in terms of fun, Frost DK has to be up there. I am loving the fact that Frost Scythe is now your AoE rune spender. This is just like everything the spec was meant to be, right? It should have been this way for a long time, but having Frost Scythe as your AoE spender fits the spec perfectly in terms of like thematics, and then you're pressing Glacial Advance as your AoE spender. Frost Strike is still not the most fun runic power spender in the game, or for the spec, but nevertheless, you're only really pressing that on single target, right? Other than that, you're pressing your Obliterate and your Frost Size for your runes, and then your Glacial Advance to do that big fatty dam in AoE. Super duper fun. Frost Scythe being your AoE spender also now means that Death and Decay is gone. Thank the frickin' heavens, hey? This ability has been plaguing the spec and basically the whole of the Death Knight class for as long as we can remember, and there have been so many people that have just never even bothered to touch this spec because you were so tied to your Death and Decay windows, which just felt awful. So thank God that is gone. That alone, that change alone is enough to make this spec just like insanely more fun. But they also reworked, they've reworked the whole thing, right? So you've got Empowered Rune Weapon now, which it definitely takes time to get used to. It doesn't really feel like a cooldown, but it does really smooth out your gameplay. So that is super nice and makes the gameplay feel much more fluid, and also allows for some skill expression in there as well. Remorseless Winter got baked into Pillar of Frost, so that's making your Pillar of Frost feel much more impactful of a button press. I never really cared to press Remorseless Winter as it was anyway, because it was kind of just like a button you'd press and forget about, right? There was ways to like min-max it and keep your stacks high, but I am much bigger of a fan of just having Remorseless Winter baked into something else. It makes the opener more fluid as well. Then the last big change that the spec got is the huge breath changes. So breath is now extended by your Killing Machine procs and your Rhyme procs, which you're getting much more frequently. This also plays super nicely because during your breath windows, you're hopefully going to be in your Pillar of Frost windows. And now that your breath isn't consuming runic power anymore, you're actually able to spend your runic power with Glacial Advance or maybe even a Frost Strike on single target, which with your Obliteration talent is then going to guarantee you Killing Machine, which is then going to extend that breath, and it all just plays into each other very, very nicely. So huge dub for breath being extended by your Killing Machine procs and Rhyme procs. You're getting Rhyme a lot more now as well, and Rhyme procs are also reducing the cooldown of that Empowered Rune Weapon. So the spec is just like flowing super nicely, and it's all kind of playing into each other. So for me, Frost DK is going straight in that S tier. Nope, Death and Decay is gone, native. You use Frost Scythe in AoE now. Another tier list. It's tier list Fridays, my dude. MM Hunter next. We're just going to work through them as they come up. You see me? So next up we have Unholy Death Knight. So this was reworked, but it doesn't really feel like it was reworked, okay? So I've been playing a lot more of the Commander of the Dead build recently, which I am actually loving, to be fair. It's a very simple build. I think a lot of people think Unholy is like a more difficult spec, but it's a simple build, and I love the idea of summoning all of these extra Maguses through your Sudden Dooms, your Apocalypse and Dark Transformation cooldown that are now baked into each other. But they're summoning these Maguses that are now cleaving these Shadow Bolt volleys on up to 8 targets, bridging that gap for Unholy in those lower target cleave scenarios. But just firing out these AoE Shadow Bolts, it's so freaking sick. Like when I'm playing an Unholy DK to feel like a Necromancer, right? And this just ties into that fantasy like perfectly. However, the one thing that I don't feel ties into that necromantic gameplay is your Legion. Is it Legion of Souls? Yeah, Legion of Souls. So it's a new choice node where you can choose between this, which is basically just an excuse to keep the icon and animation of A-Bomb Limb in the game. You can pick between Legion of Souls, which applies loads of wounds, blah, blah, blah. Super boring, like set and forget, minute and a half cooldown. Or you can choose to raise Abomination. Legion of Souls is currently outperforming the Abomination in AoE, which is like obviously going to be bread and butter for dungeons. So unfortunately, the necromantic feel is kind of being hindered by the fact that we want to be playing Legion of Souls instead. We don't. We want to be playing Raise Abomination and summoning all of these ghouls, all of these undead minions, and also spreading disease and corruption. Like, that's what you want to be feeling like when you're playing an Unholy Death Knight, right? However, enough moaning, because I do enjoy this spec. Plaguebringer and Clawing Shadows being on different talents, they're no longer on a choice node anymore. That's a huge dub and a nice step in the right direction, because you can now play Clawing Shadows, which basically makes you feel like sort of a hybrid melee. You can use your Epidemic and your Death Coils at range. You can now use your Clawing Shadows and also cleave your wounds at range as well. So if there's mechanics that are getting you out of melee, you've got that to combat it. I really like Clawing Shadows. Big fan of playing with this ability. I love a bit of class fantasy coming to life. Don't we all, Red? Don't we all? No, Phoenix. This has nothing to do with power. So that's what I've been enjoying about Unholy. Desecrate is another addition to the rework, and it's just feeling a little bit odd to me. So basically, this is consuming your Death and Decay to do... So basically, this is a let me restart that. How is Frost still S tier? Wait, by the way, can you guys tell me, did Frost DK... Is it dead? It's not dead, right? Surely it's not dead. So that's what I enjoy about the Unholy Death Knight from the rework so far. The thing that I'm not sold on is Desecrate. This new talent definitely feels odd. Basically what this does is it applies or bursts active wounds that are on all of the mobs that you're fighting, right? So you set down your Death and Decay, then it turns to Desecrate, you use that and it will apply or burst wounds. Now this does free up movement because it's still giving you that like full duration of your Death and Decay window where you're going to be cleaving your Scourge Strikes or Clawing Shadows. But it makes this Death and Decay and Desecrate button feel more like just another wound button, as opposed to like you're pressing it to activate your cleaving Scourge Strikes, right? So not sure how I feel about that, because as far as I was aware from like the little testing that I did with this ability, you're literally using it for wounds. Like you're not really using it that much for, like, it's obviously an added benefit, but you're not actually using it for the cleaving benefit that you get after dropping a Death and Decay, right? So I don't know if sometimes you like might munch some duration just so that you can like chug through some more wounds. Also, all of this extra wound generation means that you're now having to overcap on a lot of runic power. You're getting these sudden doom procs, which you're going to be using to summon those Maguses of the Dead if you're talented into that talent. But you're basically only really pressing Epidemic and maybe Death Coil if you don't have wounds to pop, right? Not a fan of it. Don't get me wrong, I'd always rather be popping wounds, like that chunk, that like audio effect you get when you're popping multiple wounds at once. Chef's kiss. But I also don't want to feel like I'm ever wasting anything in my rotation, right? So that just kind of feels outright bad that you're overcapping so much on runic power just because all you really care about is wounds. However, because of all these extra wounds, and maybe even playing into this problem more, you'll get the amount of Festering Scythe procs that you now get is ridiculous. You're just always proccing this ability, and this is easily one of my favorite additions that Unholy Death Knight has had in recent iterations or additions. I love this ability, and now Festering Scythe also can be held for up to 30 seconds. So with good gameplay, you can take your Festering Scythe into the next pack to get everything wounded up, and then you can start cleaving them and popping them all for big AoE damn that we know the Unholy DK does so well. So, Unholy DK, super enjoying this spec. Definitely not as much as Frost, but I am having a good time on this spec. More so specifically the Commander of the Dead build, and I'm going to drop this into the A tier. Azor said MM is dead. I mean, from what I've watched today, MM definitely does not seem like it's dead. Maybe in higher keys, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, normally I like Outlaw, sorry, but yeah, I'm right there with you this time. What's up, Drake? To these guys, fun is always the most DPS. Hey, ain't that the truth, Bilbo? You'll see that. You'll see that as we go through this tier list. Unholy is oversimplified. It's definitely a simple spec for sure. But I do kind of enjoy that. Do you play two-hand as Frost now? Yeah, I think you do. I think that is the move. Wait, so am I... I feel like I'm kind of alone here that I'm enjoying Frost DK so much. It seems like you guys aren't enjoying it. I think this rework's been a banger. Yagi's been on BM, so I assume MM isn't looking great. I mean, I watched a little bit of Petco today, and he was losing to an MM on a Dash Show log, I think. Thank you for the follows, gang, by the way. Appreciate all that. Appreciate that. Now, I mentioned that Frost DK was one of the most improved specs going into Season 3, and that is right alongside the Havoc Demon Hunter. Movement is finally gone. I mean, I have been corrected that apparently movement was not the play in Season 2 either, but this is kind of the first that I've seen of it, so just let me embrace the novelty, right? Like I said, much like Frost DK, Havoc feels amazing coming into Season 3, but yeah, I'm just in love with how this spec plays currently, and I hope that it stays like this so that we can show and prove to Blizzard that Havoc does not need movement, and we don't need to be zip-zapping around the encounter to have fun on this spec. It's fun enough, it's flashy enough, and it's procky enough by itself for us to just have a good time without having to think of our positioning so much, right? Speaking of procs, I never thought I would see the light. I never thought I'd see the day that I would say this, but I am actually in love with Aldrachi Reaver. Now, I do think that I would enjoy it more so if we did have the choice to like buff up our Chaos Strike as our last ability in the road in like the little sequence on like single target or for like prio damage. But the way that they've done this tier set basically means that whenever, so after you use a Reaver's Glaive, then you can either use your Blade Dance or your Chaos Strike first, and then that will buff up the other one even further. If you use Chaos Strike first and then Blade Dance, it does like an extra 6 slashes, but with the tier set, it's now doing 12 slashes. So every time you get a Reaver's Glaive proc and press this empowered Blade Dance, it literally feels like you're sending out, I don't know if it's the audio feedback, I don't know what it is, but it literally feels like you're sending out a Glaive Tempest every time you press this, and it's so frequent. For those of you that played Havoc and Legion, it literally feels like you're getting a Fury of the Illidari proc like every time you use this beefy Blade Dance. I love it. I'm really, really enjoying Aldrachi Reaver, and I never thought I'd see the day. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Wait, give me a second, chat. I've lost my notes here. And yeah, if you get lucky with your Reaver's Glaive procs, like if you're consuming and going through a lot of souls, which is slightly RNG, then oh my god, this spec just feels disgusting. Like you're just constantly proccing these. Even just throwing the Reaver Glaive by itself feels like super impactful of a button press in itself. I do wish that the hunt was on a 1-minute cooldown. That would mean that it would line up, every other hunt would line up with your meta, so you'd have a guaranteed ReVG going into your meta. I think that would benefit the spec a lot. And also, in terms of cooldown reduction as well, I've been being on a 20-second cooldown. When you get to the 20-second cooldown buff through your Cycle of Hatred talent, it just needs to permanently be like that. I don't like, it's only really impactful for like the start of your key and maybe in the start of your boss fights as well. I don't really know how it works in Raid. But I've been being on a 20-second cooldown, like the little gameplay loop of getting into your demonic window. Like it's all about being a demon, right? So the 20-second cooldown just feels perfect. That also lines up with every Vengeful Retreat. So that will amp up your damage because of the initiative. Don't really like initiative. I mean, I can handle it, and it's me being super nitpicky. Like, movement's gone, so listen, I can deal with a bit of Vengeful Retreating here and there. But I don't really like the fact that it is a damage amp. It does feel a lot better, though, especially when playing Aldrachi Reaver, because you get a Fellblade reset, which means you can get straight back into the mixer. So I can't complain too much about that. And then lastly, the other proc that I thoroughly enjoy with this spec is your Immolation Aura resetting itself. So like if you're in AoE and you're just like constantly refunding your immolation aura, you know that you're building up this fatty rage fire, and you kind of just like watching the immolation aura tick down, ready for it to blow up for some big old AoE dam. So that is super fun. I am loving Havoc going into season 3. So I'm also going to put, I think I'm actually going to put Havoc. Yeah, I prefer playing Havoc to Frost DK. So it's going at the top of S for me. I don't know if this is a hot take. I didn't actually realize how many people like the movement-based gameplay for Havoc, but you guys freaks, and let us enjoy this season, okay? Also, new DH spec soon, TM. Hey, what's up, Nasha? Oh, you're over at YouTube today, are you? I'm trying to do Frostfire this season. Wait, I'm trying to do Frostfire, Fire this season. Is that what you're trying to say, Adam? I don't know. I'm not picking up what you're putting down. Because BM is now simming higher. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, BM is good. BM is good. They're all coming in last DPS. I mean, we'll be testing out some MM, don't you worry. I think what we're going to do on Monday is update the power tier list. So I'll be watching streams over the weekend. Maybe I'll play some after the tier list today. We will see. But yeah, then we'll do the progressive. I mean, this will be... Is this the last tuning before the season goes live? Is that right? I think adding more support specs is an okay idea. If implemented, I'd like to see dungeon groups go up to 6. I mean, these are big changes, right? I'm happy for them to just delete org, but I'm also happy for them to experiment. I just don't think that we should just have one singular support spec in the game, because that's just odd, right? Big Shagger. You meant Frostfire Fire as it looks and feels fun, sod the nerds. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Frostfire Fire is a lot of fun. You'll have a good time, champ. Don't you worry about that. Don't you fret. Right, so our first range spec of the fun tier list, we have the Balance Druid. Now, Keeper of the Grove used to feel so good. Now, don't get me wrong, this was because of how powerful the tier set was. Basically, what the tier set does is it summons a Dryad that accumulates all of your, like, what am I trying to say? AoE pad damage during your cooldowns that Boomy's known for, right? It accumulates all of it, and then once it fades, you can then fire 2 Star Surges back to back that have accumulated all this damage and deal even more single target damage. So at the start of PTR, we were literally deleting like these big lieutenant mobs, right, by ourselves, because this also splashes AoE damage from the Star Surge, right? So it's giving Boomy priority damage, which in my opinion feels amazing for the spec, because I don't really enjoy just feeling like this AoE like pad monster, right? You always get memed on for it, so it's nice that you're kind of converting that into some useful damage as well. It's now doing a lot less damage, and this is not about damage, because it almost like it was fun to do that ridiculous damage, but it did feel like ridiculous, right? So, and we always knew it was getting nerfed, so it's more of a case of just like I'm enjoying the fact that they've given Boomy some prio damage, because it never really had that before. And I enjoy using, like, spicing up my rotation a bit and using Star Surge in like AoE, right? Big fan of that. Also, you're getting priority damage from your Elun's Chosen tier set as well. I haven't actually gotten around to testing this, but basically you're just sending out these free Star Surges when you're star firing. These do cleave onto like 3 targets or 4 targets total, but I feel like they split the damage, or like the Star Surges are split off of the mob instead of being like coming out of you and like seeing like 3 or 4 Star Surges shoot away from you, right? I think that would look so unreal. But it doesn't seem to do that unless I'm just like blind. I don't know. But yeah, Boomy's getting a lot of prio damage going into season 3, which is super nice for the spec. I'm still enjoying having 2 charges of Incarn. I was a bit iffy about this. I do still miss Pulsar, I think. But 2 charges of Incarn does work super nicely with, like, specifically the Keeper of the Grove tier set, because you're getting more of those buff Star Surges, and you can also line up your Treants inside of all of these Incarn windows. Your Treants are also applying Moonfires for you, which is making setup a lot easier. Dots aren't really so much of a thing for Boomy anymore, and it's just a nice quality of life that the Keeper of the Grove hero talents have. So definitely enjoying that. And then for more so Elun's Chosen, I guess, I do miss playing with Full Moon. I wish Full Moon was a viable talent choice. I mean, maybe it is, but I also wish that Full Moon was like, instead of being split damage, I feel like a Full Moon would be so fun and like always your AoE choice if it was like even soft capped damage, right? Like it does big damage to like 8 targets and then like falls off and higher target counts. Like Full Moon should not be split damage as you crash down this full on huge, basically meteor onto these mobs. So yeah, that would be the only thing that I would change. I wish you were playing Full Moon more, and I wish it did AoE, like a kind of uncapped or soft capped AoE damage, right? Outside of that, Balanced Druid is still very simplistic. I feel like it did lose a lot. It's like losing Pulsar, and I feel like it has lost a lot over the like previous changes to it. So I am going to put Balanced Druid in the B tier. It's still a fun spec. I do still enjoy it, and B tier is definitely a good place to be in terms of fun, but I do definitely enjoy these other specs more. I think Balance is just too simple for me now, because like, you know, I'm like big brained in that. Class like Boomy, where you're locked into not seeing your gear, need to go the way of the dinosaur. F's in the chat for the dinosaurs. That's what Glyph of Stars is for, my friend. Yeah, I mean, I can't really take myself seriously when I'm playing Boomy, so yeah. Sorry, I have to be a fake fan. Oh my god, Red. Okay, it's for a PT. I'll let you off, mate. I'll let you off this one time, all right? Just don't let it happen again. Listen, you know this is my streaming time. So any more of this tomfoolery and nonsense, mate, then we'll be having words, okay? And maybe a kiss as well. Have a good session, my friend. Super proud of you getting it in there, getting that work in. Go smash it, and then you got the weekend to chill out. You see me? Make Full Moon work like the pre-nerf Keeper of the Grove set. That would go hard and wouldn't be as broken. Oh, yes. Instead of buffing up the Star Surges, it buffs up this huge fatty Full Moon. Oh, yes. That would be unreal. But then I guess that wouldn't really work because of the way that the moon system works, right? I don't know. When shot would damage enemy with an automatic crit, it was considered must-have, then it got nerfed, then no one wanted it. I feel like I missed some lore here. Zandalari form and best Boomy form. I don't think I've ever played Zandalari Druid. Right, where are we at? Now it's time to talk about the Feral Druid. Where the hell are my Feral notes, bro? Bro? Ah, here we go. Okay, so Feral feels pretty much the same. I don't think really anything changed for it, especially for Druid of the Claw. The tier set's pretty bland. You get an extra Ravage, but it doesn't really like do anything. You get a bit of haste. That's about it. Doesn't really feel that noticeable or impactful. It'd be more fun if you could like play around it, and like there was, it kind of just like naturally happens where you buff up your dots by 30% because of your Ravage, right? It would be more fun if there was ways to like express skill. I don't really feel like Feral needs any more ways to express skill, but yeah, it just feels a bit bland. However, I do, because of that reason, I do wish Wildstalker was the play. I've tested a bit of Wildstalker on dummies, and my god, the amount of vines that you generate, which then basically it's like this mini game of biting these vines to do like big AoE damage when you get the bursting growth from the vines exploding when you bite into it. It's just that they're always proccing, so there's always something to bite. It feels so good, and you know that that's exploding for big AoE damage on top of your rampant ferocity damage from your ferocious bite cleaving as well. I wish that Wildstalker was the play, and it actually seemed to be doing some decent damage. So I don't know, maybe it will be, but I thoroughly enjoyed that mini game of Wildstalker Feral. I mean, it's super fun on Resto Druid as well. But yeah, not a lot has changed for Feral. I do wish that the Primal Wrath bleed was a bit longer. This is obviously made even more of an issue by Circle of Life and Death. Grip does do a lot of damage, so I guess that's like, it kind of makes sense for your Primal Wrath duration to be that short, and you have to like kind of maintain it. But I just kind of wish that you were able to weave more bites in between that. In between that window. I do enjoy this spec though. Rake spreading is fun. Only really though when you're playing double clawed Rake, and that is even more fun as Wildstalker because it means more vines. The blood talons and snapshotting with Tiger's Fury is super fun as well. It allows better players to like show off their skill, right? So I definitely do enjoy that as well. Yeah, there's a very high skill ceiling for Feral. The only other thing that I don't like is sometimes, especially like when you've been going for a little while, energy regen definitely isn't the fastest with this spec. I don't know if this is maybe a skill issue, but I just think like in general, classes that rely on energy and that actually have to wait for their energy to pull up, and like with Feral, you have to wait for your energy to pull to get more damage out of your ferocious bites. Waiting around and pressing something in modern WoW is something that I feel like the majority of people can agree that we just don't want to be doing. So that does hurt the fun. But it's like, honestly, I do feel like it's improved a lot. And with more stats, more haste, that's always going to feel better. I'm going to put Feral in the A tier behind Unholy. It probably would be higher. Like if Wildstalker was to play, I think maybe I'd put it at the top of A tier, I reckon. Shit. Seb, help. Augmentation Evoker and Devastation Evoker. Now, I haven't played any of this because my Evoker is level 72 or level 73, because Evoker is a cringe class and it should be deleted from the game. There's my rage bait. Aug is doing more of its own damage, which I don't really want to talk about damage, but I feel like this is relevant to Augmentation, right? Doing its own damage is definitely going to help the spec and also make people that don't enjoy the supporty style, i.e. myself, enjoy the spec a lot more. You're getting a shit ton of damage out of your Scale Commander tier set. And how does the tier set work for Aug on a Scale Commander and Dev? Is it tied to your Deep Breath? Like, do you zip around on your Deep Breath and then there's like a commander that drops pyres behind you or some shit? We just finished up Azor's newest Hunter video, looking like BM. This is purely fun for Vega. This is purely based on fun. Appreciate the follows, by the way, gang. Is that from your Deep Breath, Cypher? Has anyone can anybody link me the tier sets? Oh, like, yeah, to be fair, that is actually sick. I have seen that. Now, obviously, like I said, I haven't played it myself, but I have actually seen, you actually have like a little Drakthir army around you, right? That shoot out these pyres and also disintegrates. Like, in terms of class fantasy and thematics and also like being a Scale Commander, you can't really argue with that. Like, as much as I'm an Aug hater, that is pretty sick. You sent them on disc. Appreciate you, my guy. Summon a squadron of 2. While your squadron is active, your mass eruption strikes up to 2 additional targets. Okay. Yeah, so summoning this little army after, like, it also makes your Breath of Eons feel even more impactful, right? I'm still not a fan of, like, it being a support spec, and it's a very simple spec. I don't think anyone can argue with that. I mean, people do enjoy the mini game, so it's difficult to rank, because, like, I know that this isn't a spec for me, and, like, there's a few other specs like this. I do feel like Blizzard did the support style of a spec very well. And I do think that with the way that the support system or the support DPS has kind of evolved, like they haven't really like doubled down on it and they haven't taken it out. I do feel like they're slowly bringing Aug to like bring its own damage instead of like buffing up the rest of the party. But I can imagine to somebody that enjoys this type of playstyle that it is very fulfilling and satisfying to like buff up the rest of your party. And like I said, I think the way that they did the extension on like the Ebb and Might through your eruptions and also your empowered abilities, they did do a good job with it. So I don't want to be too harsh with Aug. I'm going to put it in the B tier. Weaving heals and shit. Oh yeah, true. Mass Disintegrate hits 2 extra targets with the force. So that's for Dev. Okay, so moving on to Dev. Again, same boat as Aug. I haven't been able to play it on the PTR, but with help from chat and also seeing Org and Dev being played, I feel like I can make a pretty valid guess as to how it would be feeling right now. Scale Commander, I would hope that it's the play for both of these specs because it does seem sick. Like, yeah, having proccing this army for Dev and also having your mass disintegrate cleave on 2 more targets, that's got to be trucking. And even just firing out 3 disintegrate beams at once with the like original mass disintegrate, right? That looks unreal. But to now have that firing at 5 targets all at once, I assume that they can all proc Eternity Surges as well. That's unreal. Like, that sounds like a good time. Dev's fun. It's like, it's very bursty. It's simple, which to some people that's appealing. To other people like myself, I don't want a super complex spec. Like, that does put me off, but I do feel like it's just kind of, I mean, Scale Commander changed things, but it's just kind of pyre on AoE, disintegrate on like single target or low cleave. I do really enjoy single target with Dev. It's a lot of disintegrate spam, but to me it just feels like satisfying. So I'm actually going to put Dev in at the top of B tier. Like, I would enjoy the spec more than I would enjoy Boomy. The big thing that holds it back for me, which is kind of negated by movement a little bit, is your range. Like, Blizzard, please just make these 40 yards. Like, 25 yards is not it. So yeah, that it probably would be maybe even in the A tier for me if that wasn't a thing. Can you remind me what the Scale Commander tier set does for? The Flame Shaper tier set. It's the Essence Bombs, right? But I can't really remember exactly how that works. Engulf Buff should damage over time. Okay, so apparently Scale Commander is just like dead on arrival for Dev, which is super sad to hear. Apparently the play is going to be Flame Shaper instead, which seems like there might be able to be a bit of like min-maxing around the tier set, especially the 2 set, with buffing your damage over time. You're basically double engulfing, but would you spread those out to like keep up the damage buff, right? Sorry, chat. I know I seem fucking clueless right now, but it's literally Dev and Org that I'm clueless about, and then the rest of the specs I know fucking everything. Okay. Oh, okay. Apparently not. Maybe you just double press engulf in the opener. Does it? Oh, does the effect stack up and like extend the duration? Engulf buffs your damage over time. This effect can stack twice, but each stack has a separate duration. Little extra damage window after engulf. But yeah, I mean, engulf is a super fun ability to press, and it's going to make this button press feel even more impactful. But I just think Scale Commander is like, there's no arguments there. Scale Commander is just infinitely cooler than what Flame Shaper could ever be. Like, summoning this Dracthyr army, I hope that it gets some buffs. I mean, it's likely not to get buffed now, but yeah, I mean, this doesn't really change my ranking for Dev. Like, I still do enjoy playing this spec. When you consume Essence Burst during Inner Flame, you trigger an Essence Bomb. What is Inner Flame? And yeah, I mean, you're just getting some extra AoE damage out of your full set, so that's kind of just passive. And like, would you even notice? I mean, I guess it just adds to the burst that this spec already brings, right? So you best hope that you've got a Misdirect or a Tricks in your party. Let me tell you. Just blowing your load of all of your abilities while they're all buffed. Yeah. I mean, it's just feeding into like how bursty the spec already is, right? So hopefully Timelessness does it work. Yeah, that's what I would have imagined so far. Reading, because it says the stack has a separate duration. Dev is probably the highest overall spec in the game. Really? Bloody hell. That's kind of wild. Yeah, so like I said, take it with a pinch of salt what I said about these 2 specs, because I actually haven't been able to test them myself. And I do feel like I would really enjoy playing Dev. But this is more so from hearing opinions of other people, seeing it being played as well, and also getting feedback from the Twitch chat, twitch.tv, Vesperal TV. Why have I said that on the Evoker part? Like, nobody's reading or watching this part, right? So, back to some specs that I know my shit on, okay? We've got the Beast Mastery Hunter. Now, this tier set for Pack Leader is everything that Beast Mastery needed. Stampede goes brr. It did used to go more brr, but like I don't really care about the damage. Like this, again, is a fun tier list, right? But it's just exactly what BM needed, because BM, you feel so detached and uninvolved with like your rotation. Your pets are all in melee, like they're completely crowded by all of these different mobs, and also your team, and you're stood 40 yards away shooting your bow and pointing at your pets, right? We need some visual feedback for BM so that we actually feel like a part of the fight. And getting that from Pack Leader with the boar charging, the bear leaping in, the wyvern flying around you, and now also consistently summoning a Stampede which runs from beside you through the mobs to deal fatty AoE damage, single target damage, is just like, it's perfect. I don't think I could have come up with anything better for this spec. And also, Blizzard, add this as a talent for BM after this tier set leaves. It just fits the fantasy perfectly. However, not sure how I feel about Dire Beast now being passive. BM did not need to lose a rotational button. Like, it's already a meme how easy this spec is, right? And I feel like Dire Beast really kind of like fleshed out the rotation. Like, it gave you that button to press that kind of like, I don't want to say kept you on your toes, but it kept it feeling like fun, right? Because otherwise you're just pressing barb shot, multi-shot, and kill command. So I think I do miss pressing Dire Beast, but I do like the idea that it's like, I guess there is some min-maxing to be had here with like, your Dire Beasts are now passive and they spawn from your bleeds on your target. So that's your laceration, barb shot, bloodshed has a higher percentage chance. I don't know if your Fenrir bleed also has a chance as well. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like you could actively summon the Dire Beast with a button press, and then to bake the bleeds into it, they could do more damage based on like how many bleeds are active, right? I feel like that would be a more fun way to do it, because yeah, at the moment, it's just like now BM's just even easier than it was. And it's kind of missing that extra button press, I feel. But yeah, I mean, it is, I still do enjoy this spec. I definitely have, from the amount that I've played it, I've definitely gotten bored of it. The Stampede goes a long way for helping this spec feel like flavorful and fun. But I do, but now there is, because of the way Dire Beast works, there does feel like there's that more, that bigger emphasis on your bleeds, right? And spreading out your barb shots, which then allows for at least some skill expression, right? Playing Bloodshed in Mythic Plus now too, to spawn these extra Dire Beasts feels really nice, bringing that extra single target and prio damage. And it has a higher percent chance to spawn those Dire Beasts, super nice. My pets, now this was a bug, but some of my pets, like my Devil Saws, were spawning in, and they were massive. And it just makes me like fiend for this idea that BM could have like, even Dire Beast is like a big 1 minute cooldown, and you summon this like bigger dinosaur. Yeah, it can be like smaller and play down on other people's screens, but summoning this big Dire Beast that just cleaves down everything and kind of towers over everything, that would look so cool for this spec. And I feel like there's just so much missing potential for Beast Mastery. And then the last thing that I'll complain about for BM is the Killer Instinct change, which is just a fat L. So Killer Instinct used to increase your damage from kill command if the target was below 35% health, I think. So better BM players were able to capitalize on this and find low HP targets in AoE packs, and then kill command them with your Beast Cleave active, which would then make your Kill Cleave do even more damage. That's gone now, and it literally just buffs up your kill command damage, and this got buffed recently, so it seems like they're trying to sort of force us into playing this. And the BM talent tree is already just completely filled with like passive damage boosts that are just like boring. I get it, they want this spec to be like the beginner friendly, like noob friendly spec, but I just feel like it was in a place where it was starting to feel like a little bit more fleshed out. less stuff to press is more fun for me. I get to do all the mechanics instead of caring about pressing buttons. Yeah, I mean, like, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Like, I can appreciate that maybe this spec just isn't for me. So BM Hunter, I am going to put in the B tier just behind Dev. Because also, like, I kind of take it for granted these days, but you have the full mobility and, like, you can do your full rotation on the move as well, right? Like, that's always, I feel, like, slept on and underrated. I actually do think that BM is more fun than Boomy here. Like, I second guessed myself as you said that, but then I thought, and I do think so. Now, next up, we have the Marksmanship Hunter. Another spec that has seen amazing changes going into Season 3. So I am loving the explosive shot changes. Now, this is more so relevant for Sentinel, but I'll get onto Dark Ranger in a second because I love the changes for that as well. But it's such a big dub that they built off of the Season 2 tier set for MM. Like, that is the most fun I've ever had with the tier set, I feel like. But basically, your explosive shot now grants lock and load, and your lock and load reduces the cooldown of your explosive shot. So it's just this constant cycle of using explosive shot and getting lock and load procs naturally through your rotation, which that you then fire out, which then reduces your explosive shot cooldown. So you, as MM now, as MM Sentinel, you're basically just blowing the world up. And like, how is that ever not going to be so cool, right? This also makes your volley and salvo window even more fun because that is just extra explosive shots that are being fired out passively through your salvo, which then means that you can start with an explosive shot. So you'd start with a multi-shot, explosive shot, get the free lock and load proc. That reduces your the cooldown of your explosive shot. Then you volley salvo, fires out another explosive shot or 2 explosive shots, which then gives you another lock and load proc. So you're instantly getting like 16 seconds off of your cooldown of your explosive shot. If you get lucky and proc another lock and load, you're getting your explosive shot back instantly. So that's 4 explosive shots in like a 2-3 second window. Like, I love explosive shot being like a big source of your AoE damage. I'm a huge fan of that. And it's just this like constant cycle. Also, it makes explosive shot more relevant on single target because now you're getting free lock and load procs from it every single time, which smooth out your focus economy because these these lock and load procs make your aim shot free. And it also gives you more aim shot charges in general. Like, if you're out of aim shot charges but you got explosive shot, you then got an instant free aim shot, right? So you're just getting even more aim shot damage out of that, and it makes this button press relevant on single target as well, which is, I think, is super nice. The final thing that I like about Sentinel is they changed it so that when your Lunar Storm comes off of cooldown, it will now instantly reset your rapid fire cooldown. So you're getting much more rapid fires out of that, which is also helping out your focus economy. So huge dubs across the board for Sentinel. Moving on to Dark Ranger, which I think arguably has seen even better changes. Bleak Powder, which is basically when your Black Arrow hits a target, or... Right, so how am I going to word this? Bleak Powder basically explodes your Black Arrow for AoE damage, right? You used to have to activate trick shots for this. So you used to have to hit at least 3 targets with a multi-shot before to activate your Bleak Powder. Now that's gone. Wait, where am I here? Yeah, now that's gone. So Bleak Powder is instantly triggered if you Black Arrow a target and there is more than 2 targets present, or maybe it procs off of 2 targets. So now what that means is the Bleak Powder will give you trick shots as well, which means that you can now use your Black Arrow as basically multi-shot in AoE. Once you get those death blow procs, or if the mobs are high HP or low HP, your Black Arrow now becomes your multi-shot, which then also means that after your aim shot, you don't have to use your precise shot stacks, which buffs up the damage of your multi-shot, arcane shot, and Black Arrow. You don't have to use this precise shot stack on the multi-shot to then activate your trick shots for your next Black Arrow. You can just go aim shot into Black Arrow which then buffs up that Black Arrow for even more damage. Your Black Arrow now also passively applies to all targets, so your aim shot does even more damage through your Phantom Pain proc now. They have cooked with Dark Ranger. It was such a letdown when this spec was first introduced, but my god, have they just made this spec so much better. I love it now. Like, specifically that change to Black Arrow now being able to be used as multi-shot in AoE is amazing. Like, there's just so many benefits to that. And you also get a lot of cooldown reduction from True Shot from your tier set when you're in your Dark Ranger hero talent. So yeah, just W's across the board for Marksmanship Hunter. I am loving this spec. It's definitely, like, it's a shame I played so much MM because I do want to stay clear of it next season. But if I hadn't played so much of it, I would definitely be maining this spec. I am loving it. I feel like, did I really fuck the way that I explained that Bleak Powder change? So you'd fire your, so before you'd have to fire a multi-shot to get trick shots to then fire your Black Arrow, which would then mean that your Black Arrow would explode for Bleak Powder damage, right? But now Bleak Powder is just procced if you Black Arrow into a target and there's 2 or more targets present. And the Bleak Powder proc also grants you trick shots, which means that your Black Arrow becomes your multi-shot in AoE when you're actually able to press your Black Arrow, right? And then that also allows you to consume your Black Arrow with your precise shots from your aim shot and also rapid fire, because it means that you can aim shot into a Black Arrow, because that's going to give you, because that's going to proc your Black Arrow, because that's going to proc your Bleak Powder and also grant you trick shots to get straight back into an aim shot, right? You got it, okay. Whereas before, you'd have to aim shot into a multi-shot, which would then consume that precise shot stack, and then you don't get the added damage bonus for that Black Arrow, because otherwise your Black Arrow wouldn't proc that Bleak Powder if you didn't multi-shot. So you can basically just send Black Arrow whenever it's up, basically, right? Yeah. That's pretty much it. You would ideally want to buff it with an aim shot before to get that precise shot stack to consume that with your Black Arrow. Yeah, sorry. I feel like I completely munched that, but oh well. Benners with the Prime. Thank you very much, big dog. Let's go, baby. Okay, back to Melee then. We have the Survival Hunter. So the tier set for Sentinel gives you some extra refunds on your bombs. Not necessarily needed, but it does smooth out the rotation. Survival is just all about throwing bombs. I don't know if I'm like the biggest fan of that, but it is nice to just be able to get these resets and throw and just like keep launching bombs, right? This also grants you more explosive shots from your Grenade Juggler proc, which basically makes your bombs give you a chance to reset the cooldown of Explosive Shot, and then Explosive Shot gives you more bombs in turn because it gives you cooldown reduction. The problem with this is, though, and what I don't like about Survival, is it just feels like you're always overcapping on all of your abilities, and you're constantly trying to fight from overcapping or sitting on charges of these abilities, and it's this super, like, high priority system where you're just going to have to waste some cooldown reduction or some cooldown timings from other abilities because you just want to fire bombs, right? It just feels like I'm always trying to fight to keep everything off of cooldown, but it also feels impossible to do that, right? So I just, like, I don't really see the hype for Survival. I also am not a huge fan of the fact that it never really feels like it has a high in its rotation. It's a very consistent spec, and I get that some people do prefer that way of things. But even if it was just like, I guess Fury of the Eagle does feel nice, and it always seems to line up nicely now. And I guess that is the high in your rotation. But I guess because the cooldowns are so short and it's all just like about your bomb damage, it never really feels like you get this big moment of damage, right? Or this high in your rotation. You've had glimpses of that before with like being able to fire off like 3 explosive shots back to back with your old Bombardier talent, but that's since then been changed. yeah, it's just basically all about bomb spam. And that also feeds into like a problem on single target. I actually really do enjoy Mongoose Bite. I don't know if that's just me, but I do love spamming Mongoose Bite and getting up to those 5 stacks of Mongoose Fury and spamming and weaving in even more Mongoose Bites into that window. And I feel like Mongoose Bite should be your big single target hitter, right? I love that ability. I also do want to be pressing bombs on single target, but there just should be some variance. It shouldn't just all be about bombs. So for me, I think survival might be the first spec that I'm banging in the C tier, unfortunately. It's just that, it's that problem of always overcapping on shit and feeling like it's impossible not to. Hunter dead after the nerfs. Go check Azor Guide. Go check my title, friend. I feel like my voice is like fucking going. Jesus Christ. Right, so now we have an Arcane Mage. So this spec started off on the PTR as easily one of my favorite specs. Splinters for your Spellslinger, the tier set was basically making... The tier set for Spellslinger was making it so that your Splinters were granting like crazy amounts of stacks of Arcane Harmony, especially inside your cooldowns. So you were constantly building to these 20 stacks of Arcane Harmony, which the tier set was then making, it was then guaranteeing you a proc of Intuition whenever you hit that 20 stacks of Arcane Harmony. It still does that, but basically, which is really nice because it gives you this like frequent and consistent, fully buffed, like Giga Arcane Barrage that also guarantees a refund of all of your Arcane charges, which then means that you can send these barrages again and just fire barrages and barrages and barrages. These barrages are then going to fire Arcane Orbs, which generates you even more stacks of Arcane Harmony because of the tier set, which then means you get even more Intuition procs, which means even more barrages. It still does play like... Wait, what was I going to say? It still does play like this, and it still does grant you those guaranteed Intuition procs, which is like a really nice quality of life for the spec, because I hated the change from Aether Vision to Intuition, because Intuition is such a small chance to proc, and it's like one of the only conditions where you can reliably fire a barrage. So getting that much more frequently feels a lot better. It is still a massive improvement, but with the way that Arcane was at the start of PTR, you were able to just fire barrages over and over and constantly buff them up. It was, don't get me wrong, overpowered, and that's why they had to tune it back, but it's just a bit sad. It's still, and like, to be fair, it does still kind of feel like it plays like that during cooldowns. Like, you generate these Harmony stacks very quickly because of all the Splinters and other abilities, but outside of cooldowns and even in your mini burn, it's a lot slower. But I do feel like I'm kind of comparing it to like what it was, right? And as a whole, going into Season 3, this tier set is very, very fun. Because you're just always... Because you're just able to fire off these barrages a lot more. So yeah, I am still super enjoying Arcane. Super flashy spec, super bursty spec, which is always good fun as well. You're also, or I have been also playing Ley Drinker, which means that your Arcane Blast will also cleave, so that's nice for some extra cleave damage. I do really miss playing Aether Attunement. I mean, maybe there's a more recent build that includes Aether Attunement with high voltage, where you can use your missiles to generate you stacks of Arcane charges. Really enjoyed that gameplay style. And from what I tested, we weren't really playing with that, but I could be wrong on that. Arcane, I am thoroughly enjoying going into Season 3, and I'm going to put it in the bottom of S tier. What's up, Kaio? How's it going, my friend? This is a fun to play tier list. Yes, sir. Oh, shit, I just changed my DPI. Whoopsie. You should be replying to YouTube chat as well. Wait, what? PvP tier list. Yeah, you wanna bait the YouTube frogs for sure. I wish Arcane Surge could be cast while moving. I mean, you could play Icy Veins, and that would stop that problem. Right, team. I'm gonna go for a wee. I've drunk all of this water, and I feel like I'm about to piss myself. And then we'll carry on, okay? And we'll also let some more people jump in. But yeah, I mean, how many is that? We've done 5. 10, 11. So we've got more than half to go still. So I do need to kind of get a move on. Otherwise, this video is going to be fucking stupidly long. BRB. Icy flows, not icy veins. Icy flows is what I meant. If everything is S tier, what's the point of S tier? You're right. Everything is S tier. Thanks for the sub, Omega. Appreciate that, big dog. Oh, you ruined it, DB. Unlucky. Unlucky. Hello, gang. We just hit 15,000 followers, by the way. So if you'd like to press that follow button, then I would maybe give you a kiss or something like that. I don't know. I don't freaking know. What's up, coach? I don't think I've ever had a meal deal. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, but you think you're too good for a meal deal. That's the problem. Yes, gang. This is a fun to play tier list. You see how in my title it says fun DPS tier list right now? We're doing it right now. It's a tier list, and we're talking about how fun the DPS are. Yeah, what did I see? I saw something when I was on the toilet. It's a tier list based on which spec you would trust to look after your Tesco meal deal for you if you decide to brave the toilets in the park. God, imagine Seb in a public toilet. Obviously, like, censored. But I feel like that would just be, like, such a sight to see. Because you can't open your bin without putting kitchen gloves on. I have no idea, Aurelia. I haven't been around the whole time, unfortunately. So I upload this tier list with like a completely different title, like Power DPS tier list for season 3, and just rage bait everyone. No, I said censored, Omega. Listen, it sounded better in my head, alright? But it's just because he's such a fucking princess. Now we have the Fire Mage. So, Stun Fury. The tier set gives you a hypothermia that lasts a freaking lifetime. So you are literally just spamming. Unfortunately, it is Flame Strike over and over again because you're also getting like a mini lush during this hypothermia phase. So you are literally just slamming down Flame Strikes back to back. It feels giga and also plays into getting your combust back even quicker because you're getting even more crits. And then with Unleashed Inferno, I mean, actually, Unleashed Inferno wouldn't affect that, right? But Kindling means that you get your combust back even quicker than before. Like when you're playing Sun Fury with Unleashed Inferno and Kindling, your combust is literally on like a 30-second cooldown. It's ridiculous. You always have damage because of that. And it's always like a super fast and fun, engaging playstyle. Sometimes it does get a little bit too much, but I mean, I do have a blast when I'm playing this spec. Because it's Flame Strike though, it has made me realize that I do miss playing Ignite Fire Mage. Flame Strike is similar to, I feel like, BM Hunter, where it just feels like quite uninvolved because you're just kind of like targeting the floor. And it's also quite hard. I guess it's kind of a skill issue, but it just feels like finicky and clunky when you need to like move, because a lot of people move with their like mouse buttons, right? Myself included. So to have to like kind of position my cursor like under the mobs as I'm like moving my character, if I need to move out of a mechanic or something like that, does not feel great. And I definitely do prefer Ignite and just building up this fatty Ignite on the target by just slamming pyros into the mob. So I would rather play Pyro Fire Mage instead, but I don't really get that choice. I don't know if that is still the case for Frostfire Fire, but I have played a lot of Frostfire Fire on the PTR. More so before it got like kind of gutted a bit recently. And I have been loving it. Like the amount of Comet Storms that you're proccing from playing also Firefall, you're getting even more Meteors, which then proc even more Comet Storms. You're also playing Sun King's Blessing, which is again something that I realized that I missed with Fire Mage. For whatever reason, it just tickles me hard casting a big old Pyro. Especially on single target, but obviously this does also work for Ignite Fire Mage as well. But I really enjoy Sun King's Blessing. It means that you always have like mini bouts of combustion as well. So your damage profile is much more consistent. And also with Frostfire, you'll get like with these pyros that you're firing out, you're also proccing these glacial spikes, which is giving you even more priority damage. But I do wish that the glacial spike was like a guaranteed proc after every single hard-casted SKB pyro. Do you get me? But yeah, I feel like that's all I've really got to say for Fire. It definitely has slowed down in recent times. There's a few moments during your combustion now where you actually do have to Scorch, and I don't necessarily mind that. I feel like I prefer pressing Scorch to Phoenix Flames, to be honest. I don't know, is that weird? But having a super good time on Fire in Season 3, so I'm definitely going to put this in the A+ tier. It probably would be S if both specs were Ignite Fire Mage. Gone wrong in the hood, Tommy. Holy shit. Challenge impossible. Frostfire Fire should be called Frostfire Squared. I like it. Final Ultimate Mega Power Super Alpha Superior 2025 Yogurt Male DPS tier list War Within updated, edited, gone wrong in the hood, gone sexual. Huh? Oh, fuck. Pick Dickler. Now I've got to start my shift all over again, man. What the hell? What the hell right now? Wait, that was the wrong one. Okay, so probably my least favorite of the mage specs is the Frost Mage, but that's not to say that I don't like it. I do still thoroughly enjoy Frost Mage. It's super sick that Pyro, so with Frostfire, it's... Pardon me, chat, my bad. Let me just restart that. So probably my least favorite of the mage specs is the Frost Mage. Now that's not to say that I don't like it. I always do enjoy Frost Mage, and I have been enjoying it on the PTR. I always enjoy Frostfire. I do have one slight qualm with it, but we'll get to that. But it is sick that with Frostfire Frost Mage, you proc these Pyroblasts every time you Glacial Spike, but with Splitting Ice, it also makes your Pyroblast cleave onto another target. I just think that looks unreal, and like it's so flavorful for the spec. Like, I feel like Blizzard did crush Frostfire. I mean, shock, it's mage, right? But in terms of fantasy and like thematics, Frostfire is so sick. But yeah, for the problem that I have with Frostfire is it does often mean that you're playing Death's Chill. Death's Chill basically means that your Frostfire or your Frostfire Bolt builds up your spell damage and it cleaves on like 3 targets. So what I don't like about this is in AoE, you're like you basically just do nothing for the first 5 to 6 globals of your AoE rotation because you're just building up these Frostfire or these Death's Chill stacks by spamming Frostfire Bolt over and over. It is helped by the fact that Frostfire Bolt becomes instant cast and does like big damage. But I don't know, I feel like it would feel a lot better if you were guaranteed 2 stacks of Frostfire, of an instant Frostfire Bolt when you entered Icy Veins. But I'm just not, like, it just feels like you're AFK for like the first part of like any pool where you're popping Icy Veins. And like if there's lots of smallies, like all these mobs are dead by the time you actually get into your rotation. But once you're in the rotation, again, you're calling down these Comet Storms, which are proccing these huge meteors that do like a lot of your overall damage. And they're coming so frequently with cooldown reduction, like across the board pretty much. Really like that Blizzard is not just the cooldown reduction button anymore, and it actually does big damage itself. That's a really nice change for Frost Mage that was made in going into Season 2, I think. It is also, like, it is odd seeing Ignite on a Frost Mage. Obviously, it's from your Frostfire tier set, but it is odd. It is passive, so it's not super fun. But yeah, I thought I'd just make a comment on that. But like, I've always enjoyed Frost Mage's like kind of gameplay loop, regardless of what kind of damage scenario it is, whether it's single target, AoE, cleave. Like, to be fair, in AoE, when you have to, like, I'm going to contradict myself here. I like the resetting of your Comet Storm and Frozen Orb because I enjoy pressing those buttons, but I don't like the opening gameplay loop of like sending them, then using your Cone of Cold, and then sending them again. I know it doesn't really make sense, but I don't know if you guys like kind of catch my drift with that. Comet Storms are always fun, and Frozen Orbs are always fun, but I don't know, it's just the cycle of like pressing the same abilities over and over again, which I'm just not a fan of. So Frost Mage I am enjoying nonetheless, though. I'm going to put Frost Mage in the A tier. I think I do have a better time on Unholy at the moment, but solid A tier for the Frost Mage. How's Frost doing after the nerfs? Frost DK, I don't know. It should make Cone of Cold a longer cast range. Yeah, I'd like that. I'd enjoy that. I wouldn't want it to be like super huge. But yeah, that I feel like, to be fair, that might be another reason why I don't enjoy pressing Cone of Cold, because like just awkward sometimes to get into melee when the rest of your rotation is done from range. Yeah, do it, Seb. Send me a screenshot of it. Right, okay, next we have the Windwalker Monk. So the tier set, let's talk about Conduit first. So the tier set is giving you lots and lots of Fist of Fury reduction and a quicker channel speed as well. So this, again, I'm going to contradict myself here. This is always welcome. However, I don't know if this was a PTR thing, but a lot of the time it felt like I couldn't get my Whirling Dragon Punch off, and this is easily the highlight button press of my rotation. And I just wasn't able to reliably do it. whether it was both of the abilities coming off of cooldown, that being Rising Sun Kick and Fist of Fury, or either one of them, because they come back so quick because of these benefits you get from Conduit and also your tier set, it just felt so hard to weave in sometimes. Now, I have heard that apparently, maybe because of this, Whirling Dragon Punch just is not a high priority button when you're playing Conduit, but that is no bueno. I want to press this ability. It's such a satisfying button press, and it just feels like I could never get it off. I also don't like for the tier set that it's attached to Slicing Winds. I don't like Slicing Winds as a button at all. That shit should have stayed in Plunderstorm. And it's kind of like you're forced into it because your whole tier set revolves around it. Like, I feel like it could have easily have been something else. Maybe even Strike of the Windlord. I mean, I don't even really like Strike of the Windlord. I like it as a button press itself, but I don't like the Gale Force proc that you get from it, where it like repeats some of your damage. Maybe that's because I'm like not that well versed with Windwalker and I don't know exactly which abilities to get into that window. I'm sure it's just a priority system, but yeah, I'm not so much of a fan of that. But I do feel like it would feel better that the tier set was tied to Strike of the Windlord, and then it frees me up from playing Slicing Winds, right? Gage. Gape Selds. Thank you very much for the host, brother. Let's go, baby. Hope you had a good stream. Welcome, Raiders. What were you playing OSRS? When does the fun start? We've been having heckin' loads of fun this whole time. Windwalker's so fun. Well, that's the thing. It's like, I am normally a huge fan of Windwalker. Like, I always rave about this spec. It was one of my favorites coming into the War Within. But right now, mainly because of the tier sets going into Season 3, it's a shame, but I'm just not so much of a fan of it. With your Shadow Pan, it places a huge emphasis on never overcapping energy, which almost feels impossible between not overcapping energy, not overcapping chi, and not overcapping on any abilities that are relevant to your scenario. Now, I am a sort of at fault here because I didn't realize that Spinning Crane Kick also consumed energy. But with the way that I was playing, like, it just felt like your highest priority was always to not overcap on energy, and the buttons to consume that energy with, you don't really want to press. Like, Spinning Crane Kick, sure, in AoE, but like single target Tiger Palm, like, it doesn't feel that good of an ability, right? I guess it's making it more impactful, but it's not something that I want to press. I don't want to be over or sitting on Rising Sun Kick or Fist of Fury or Blackout Kick just to press Tiger Palm to prop my flurry strikes. And in AoE, like, I only really want to press Spinning Crane Kick when I get a Dance to Chi G proc. Now, maybe that is just wrong, and maybe I'm sure it would feel a lot better if I were to press Spinning Crane Kick continually in AoE. But yeah, I don't like where Windwalker is at right now, and it is unfortunately because of the tier set. I just feel like, yeah. Yeah, I've just enjoyed previous iterations of the spec a lot more than I currently do. So I don't know. I definitely haven't tested this spec as much as I have tested other specs, but I think that is just because normally I can, even if I'm not playing the spec correctly, I can understand how I'm meant to be playing the spec, and I can sort of tell if I will enjoy it. But it's just not really for me right now, which I don't like saying, because I love hit combo. I love always using a different ability. I love how the abilities feel, but the tier sets are just kind of ruining it for me right now. So I'm going to put Windwalker down in C. Might be a hot take. I'm sorry. Yeah, I hear that, Andrew. I hear that. That's just the thing that comes with time, though, right? In that red prison again. RC inting my raids again. GG. Is there a game that man doesn't int on? Crazy. Okay, moving on to a banger spec then, we have the Retribution Paladin. Now, it seems no matter how hard I try to dislike this spec, because I just think Paladin is cringe in general, and Rets are also cringe. Sorry, Rets. I know there's a lot of you out there. Probably hurt my viewer base from that comment, but oh well. It seems like no matter how hard I try, this spec just is so fun, man. I love it. So the tier set, I've only played Templar, and that's all I need to play, because the tier set is just like holy, like just hammer of light goodness. basically, when you use your Hammer of Light, you can use another one straight after it. So you're slamming 2 Hammers of Light back to back. One of the best button presses in the game. It's up there with like your Tempest. I mean, I don't really care for like hammers or maces or, like I said, Paladin in general, but my god, it feels like you are crushing the earth when you press that button. So you're getting another use of that. And then also, if you're lucky and it lines up, you can then get a third use of it from your Light's Deliverance procs if they do line up. So pressing 3 Hammers of Light back to back, it feels illegal. It is so juicy when you press that. In between that, every other button press feels impactful. Blade of Justice to keep up your expurgation. Judgment as your like sort of main filler. Your cooldowns feel impactful even though they're on a short cooldown, which I think Blizzard have done a really good job of, because normally if a cooldown's shorter, like for example Survival Hunter, it doesn't feel that impactful. But every time, even on your 30-second cooldowns, these cooldowns feel so impactful for Ret. Like they just beef up your gameplay and damage so much. The only thing that contradicts that is Divine Hammer. They did nerf Divine Hammer to a 2-minute cooldown. Now, I think this has some interactions with Templar that I don't really understand, but I feel like I would, even if I didn't understand it, I feel like I would feel it if that Divine Hammer felt nice and felt like a fun cooldown to use, which I think it should. It should feel more impactful if its cooldown's been nerfed. Maybe that's just because of the damage that it brings through Empyrean Hammers, I don't know. But I press this button and I forget that it's rolling. It doesn't feel like Breath of Sindragosa at all. I'm just not really a fan of this ability, to be honest. And I feel like it does have scope to be a fun little like damage window. Other things that I don't enjoy, Hammer of Wrath hitting like a wet noodle. I would enjoy pressing Hammer of Wrath as a higher priority on single target. Don't care to press it in AoE, of course, but I definitely want to be pressing this in single target to like kind of spice up my single target rotation a bit. But you do sort of get that from your Divine Storm procs as well. So that is nice because you even use these 3 Divine Storm procs on single target. So that spices that up a little bit. And also just getting Divine Storm procs, whether it's Divine Purpose procs, which makes your Divine Storm free in AoE, or getting refunds, or getting the free Divine Storms that I'm talking about that you also use for single target. It feels like you can just mash these finishes back to back in AoE, and like with the visual feedback that you get from that as well, it just feels super, super nice. So Ret for me is a banger spec going into the season 3, and I am going to put Ret. It actually pains me to put it in S tier, but like I just have too good of a time on it to deny it. Divine Hammer on the PTR almost feels like it's not worth having. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's just me not understanding that it's like playing into Templar, but yeah. More specs in S tier than any other. What the frick? Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of fun specs going into season 3. Right, let's get rid of that. Right, I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit, I think. Where is this then? Where are you at, though? Next up, Shadow Priest then. So this got like a slight rework to some of its talents, but the spec at its core still plays pretty much exactly the same after the rework. Been playing a lot of Void Weaver on the PTR. It has been nerfed quite a bit, and Archon's been buffed quite a bit, so Archon might be better now, I don't know. But Void Weaver is super fun. The tier set is very, very fun. Basically, you're just, it's feeding all of this extra damage and size into your Entropic Rift. So by the end of your Entropic Rift window, your Entropic Rift is bloody humongous, which looks unreal, and then it explodes for huge damage, which then buffs up your next Void Torrent, and it all just plays into each other super nicely. Places a lot of emphasis on Void Blast as well, which is a super fun button press. So yeah, thoroughly enjoying Void Weaver. Now, they did introduce a new talent called Void Volley, which your Void Torrent will turn into a Void Volley after it's pressed. And to me, this button feels a little bit underwhelming, unfortunately. When I heard of it, I was like, wow, that sounds unreal. Like, imagine if you're just like, imagine if this is like an AoE Void Torrent or something like that. I don't know. Maybe my hopes were too high. This ability is nice to press like on the move. It's nice for insanity generation. It spawns a tentacle as well, so it has nice interactions there. And also does like decent damage itself through Psychic Link. But I feel like what would make this button, like what would make me want to press this button is if it did refresh the dots or extend the dot duration that you have on your current target. Because, especially with Void Weaver, you're playing Dark Ascension, you're not getting that dot extension from your Void Bolts. And I feel like Void Volley would just fill that gap so nicely. I don't think it would be too OP, and I think it would like make you want to press this button even more. So yeah, I think there's, I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh, but I do feel like there's room for improvement with Void Volley. The animation's pretty sick, but I wouldn't say it's like too noticeable. Maybe you could summon a tentacle that channels like an AoE Void Torrent or something. I don't know. I do feel like I'm being like pretty harsh, but yeah. To touch on the dots do feel, I think this is because I've been playing Dark Ascension, but dots don't feel like they last as long. But that doesn't really matter so much because now you have 2 charges of Shadow Crash. Don't really know when this was introduced, but an amazing change. Especially if you're pugging out there, like you know how bad it feels if you miss your Shadow Crash, or if you Shadow Crash like 3 mobs and then your tank pulls another 5 or something like that. This just kind of bridges that gap super nicely. There's a lot of times where it's like not even really your fault, right? So I think for the wider player base, having 2 charges of Shadow Crash is exactly what Shadow Priest needed. But yeah, I am really enjoying Shadow Priest on the PTR. Void Weaver like always has damage. You basically got your cooldowns on like a 30-second cooldown. Feels super impactful as well. And the visuals are amazing for the spec. I do, like just touching on visuals then, it's made me think of, I do miss not having spirits like constantly flying. What was that Dragonflight Season 4? Like the amount of spirits that were flying at your target. Like you just felt like a fucking Void Lord. It was so nice. But you don't really get that anymore, unfortunately. That would definitely make the spec more fun to me, and that also helps with your insanity gen, right? Shadow Priest, I am going to put in the A tier. I haven't played too much Archon. I don't know how Archon's feeling. I'm really not that gassed or hyped about pressing Halo, but I do feel like overall I kind of prefer the way that Archon plays, because it's more of an emphasis on like your Psychic Link damage and your dots. Don't get me wrong, obviously Psychic Link's still a huge part of Void Weaver, but a lot of it is your Entropic Rift damage and like emphasis on Void Blast, right? Like I also enjoy channeling Mind Flays and Mind Blasts and what's the other one? Well, and I guess yeah, Devouring Plagues as well. Thanks to the follows, gang. Okay, and you get the Ghosties with the Archon build. However, I feel like I played Shadow Priest at a privileged time and it's never going to compare, right? Okay, another spec that I haven't played too much of, then we've got the Assassination Rogue. Now, I don't want to rank this spec too harshly because I feel like, although I haven't played enough of it and maybe it will grow more on me as I play it more, I just feel like this kind of spec just isn't for me. I enjoy more bursty playstyles. If you enjoy a more like spinning plates playstyle, spreading dots and stuff like that, and keeping up like maintenance buffs and such, you'll probably really enjoy Assassination Rogue. So I'm not going to let my opinion affect this too much because I don't want to put you guys off. I'm just making it very clear that like I'm not huge on like the kind of dot and maintenance gameplay. That being said, I have enjoyed the little time that I've played of it. It might be something to do with the fact that the damage is just busted right now. But the tier set is making Shiv feel much more impactful of a button press. They also extended the duration of Shiv, so that makes it much more forgiving to play around. Have we always had 2 charges of Shiv? I don't know. Or maybe that's the talent. I'm not sure. But yeah, I feel like... So yeah, that's making the spec easier. Like, I am also aware that the spec is quite widely known as like an easier spec, and I don't think it's that easy, but that's just going to be time in the game, right? I have, however, now I think I've been playing like the optimal build. I might be wrong. I feel like with Assassination, there's always different builds that you can play. I would always want to play the optimal one, and the one that I've been playing didn't have improved Garrote, so I can't spread my Garrotes in my opener, which makes the opener feel so much more clunky to me. Because like I want to open with like double Garrote and double Rupture when I'm playing with Serrated Bone Spike, right? Because then I'll Rupture, get Refund, Rupture again, and that would be spread out to loads of different targets with Indiscriminate Carnage. Instead, you're only allowed to get one Garrote off in your opener, which kind of slows down that opener and doesn't make it feel as nice. So wasn't a fan of that. And also, I was playing without 2 charges of Vanish. I'd much rather play with 2 charges of Vanish. Maybe this is like me being a noob, but it allows me to get more value out of my Indiscriminate Carnage and spread more of those Garrotes and Ruptures. Which then means that I don't have to like kind of manually, singularly maintain my Ruptures and tab target through mobs to apply Ruptures to get my Scent of Blood up, right? But I do, like in saying all this, I do think that I could enjoy Assassination. I just know that like this kind of spec is not my cup of tea. So I am gonna put Assassination in the B tier. I think I'll put it there, to be honest. Now you guys might be surprised and think that's like quite a high ranking, but I can see the potential with this spec. You should have played the bleed build. Well, yeah, but like I just want to play whatever the best build is. Like I don't want to play another build just because it feels better. I'd always like if so be it that ends up being the bleed build, then fine, I'll play it. But that's what scares me with specs like this is like if I commit to it and then I end up playing a build that I hate, I'm always going to play the optimal build. So if I end up having to play that build that I hate, then like I'm just going to hate my time on it. Now, another surprise. Wait, where is this? Now, another surprise because I normally love playing this spec. This is the Outlaw Rogue, and this spec is by far and away, to me at least, the worst feeling spec on PTR. It's absolute dog shit. I would never ever recommend it to a friend. And that is coming from somebody who normally loves this spec. Like, I've never mained it. I normally really enjoy like the fast pacedness of this spec, the Vanish window. I still enjoy the Vanish windows, but going into season 3, for some reason, you're still playing Keep It Rolling, even though you only literally ever roll 2 buffs, so you never have a reason to keep it rolling. I personally much prefer playing Hidden Opportunity because I feel like, especially with Count the Odds, you get more you get much more frequent extra buffs, right? And then you're quite often sitting at like 4 or 5 buffs, and that's where Outlaw really feels like it's meant to feel, right? Feels like you hit the jackpot or found your treasure as a pirate. I don't care for the pirate fantasy either. But yeah, this spec on like from what I tested on PTR, I don't know if it's just me, but I literally like when playing the spec had to check if I was in the right talents, if I had like an intellect weapon on, if I had the right gear, if I was bugged. Like I didn't know what it was, but it just felt like I was constantly spamming Sinister Strike, getting like 1 or 2 combo points, never proccing my free pistol shot, which fills up my combo point bar. So it was just waiting for my energy to regen. Adrenaline Rush is insanely punishing. If you don't have like 80+% uptime on your Adrenaline Rush, which is sometimes out of your control, then you literally feel like you're playing a classic rogue just spamming Sinister Strike. Not even spamming, because you can't press it enough to call it spamming. Killing Spree. So it just feels like super slow. Basically, I just want to see more buffs, especially when I'm playing Keep It Rolling. Like I want to be able to constantly roll off these buffs and keep them up for a longer time. But like sometimes I'm proccing like Grand Melee by itself, and sometimes I'm like then I'm proccing like 2 rolls back to back to back, and it just feels like ass, man. Killing Spree was changed. Killing Spree, however, was changed for the better. They changed this so now you're just like firing your pistol shot. It seems like it's kind of inspired from like, I guess, Misfortune from League. I don't know. But you're just like barraging your pistol over the duration. It refills your combo points and also refills your energy, which feels like you're kind of the only reason that you're using it. It doesn't seem like it does a lot of damage. I feel like this ability should maybe not even benefit from Restless Blades, but should be on like a minute or minute and a half cooldown, and it's this AoE nuke that by the end of the run, it's like one of your top damage sources. Like, I think that would be so sick. Right now, it just kind of feels like you're pressing it to like regenerate energy and combo points. It feels like such a non-button press. The animation is sick, and I love what they did with the rework to it, but I just want it to be doing more damage and feel more impactful when I press it. So yeah, Outlaw's not in a good spot at the moment. I feel like I'm not the only person saying that. It's fine damage-wise, but this is based on fun, and I have just not been enjoying my time on it at all. It's just like Sinister Strike Simulator, pretty much. And like Dispatch, like basically tickles the mobs. I do enjoy the crackshot windows, especially with the ace up your sleeve procs, but yeah, it's just not enough for me. So Outlaw's going in the D tier. Sorry, guys. No, Tigma, it's changed, and that's the only reason that I can enjoy it now. Fucking hell, my voice is going, man. Am I shouting? I feel like I am shouting. I'm going to put the fan on real quick. That will often be in D tier. Putting the the fan didn't even turn on. Well, yeah, but I'm just hot. And like, is it weird that I don't want to change out my jumper because I want to keep it consistent for the video? That's pretty tism pilled of me, isn't it? And we haven't got many specs left anyway. So probably my favorite, yeah, definitely my favorite of the rogue specs then is the subtlety rogue. I've been testing out a lot of Trickster on the PTR, and I really like Trickster because I feel like it feeds kind of into everything that the sub rogue is known for, with like funnel and prio damage. Because in up to like 7 or 8 targets, or maybe even more now, you're going to use basically your single target abilities, so your Shadow Strikes, Backstabs, and Eviscerates, because they're going to proc a Nimble Flurry AoE around you, which is most of your damage. Don't know if it's just me, but I really enjoy like feeding damage into a priority target at the same time as like passively doing AoE or proccing in some way, some form of AoE. Trickster's also super nice as well because of the coup de grace from the tier set that you get back to back. You use coup de grace and then you get to use it another time within like 4 seconds. This feels specifically nice as sub. But I do think like an improvement to be made on this. I feel like the coup de grace, the first one, could refund your combo points, because sometimes it is difficult with your Dance Macabre talent to get 2 coup de grace and a sec tech all within the Shadow Dance window. Yeah, I don't know. It might have been like a PTR lag type thing, but sometimes I was struggling to get that all inside the same Shadow Dance window. But I do definitely enjoy the coup de grace proc back to back. But yeah, these dance windows are still super fun. Like weaving everything. Now that I understand Dance Macabre as well, I definitely enjoy that talent, and firing off these meaty sec techs inside those windows for huge damage is like super satisfying. I like the gameplay loop of sub and like the Shadow Dance windows has always really appealed to me. I've always really enjoyed it. And then also like outside of it, I love the gameplay outside of your dance windows as well. Like it does feel like you're tickling the mobs, but I know maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I do enjoy spreading ruptures outside of my dance windows, because it's kind of just like this maintenance, like sort of down phase to get this damage ticking while you go into your next like super bursty window, right? I do think Rupture belongs to Assassination, and it should instead be like a Gloom or Nightblade for the sub rogue to be spreading around. But I just really like, as a whole, love like the super bursty phases, like Shadow Blades is insane burst. Flagellation still needs to go. Such a non-button press that just clogs up your opener. But yeah, loving these bursty windows into these like down phases where you're doing a bit of maintenance, applying bleeds, or like what should be a shadow dot onto the mob for the fantasy and thematics of the spec. But yeah, I've just really enjoyed subtlety on the PTR. So sub for me is going to go into the top of the A tier, I think. Right, I'm going to actually try and speed these up now. So Elemental Shaman, I've been loving Elemental Shaman. This is definitely a potential main for me for Season 3. the Stormbringer tier set, much like Enhanced that we'll get on to after, it just plays into everything that these specs like are about and what make them so fun. Getting more Tempest is always going to be welcome. Getting more Ascendance procs, like Ascendance, you just feel like an absolute god when you're in that cooldown. Whether you're proccing it from the actual cooldown itself, DRE, or even the tier set procs as well. You're just constantly firing out all of these overloads. It's guaranteeing you Tempest and like firing out all these lava bursts as you go into it. Like you just feel like an absolute like Ascendant. So yeah, the fact that it's like kind of doubling down on this, like I'm just in love with it at the moment, and you might see me on it in season 3. I would probably prefer playing Earthshock. I don't mind Ellie Blast and single target, and especially during Ascendance if you get like some huge overload procs with it. But when you're playing Echoes, I'm not a fan of Echoes, but Echoes would feel so much better in AoE if it was Earthshock. Basically, you just need to alternate between your Ellie Blast and your Earthquake to buff up your Earthquake in AoE. But Ellie Blast is a long cast time, Earthshock is instant. So being able to fire off an Earthshock quickly straight into an Earthquake after would feel infinitely better. But I mean, also just like kind of get rid of Echoes of the Great Sundering and let me fully enjoy my Aftershock procs where I'm refunded the Maelstrom that I've spent and just slam down like 7 Earthquakes back to back. I would love that. The only other thing that I want to touch on that I'm not a huge fan of with Ellie is the fact that it's got like 2 main cooldowns and they also don't sync up. Like just make them sync up, Blizzard. Just make Storm Ellie a 3-minute cooldown if you have to, or make them both the 2-minute cooldown. Don't really care to have 2 big cooldowns in the first place, but the fact that they're never lining up with each other and you have to like sit on one and hold one for the other, it's just like, ugh, gross. But other than that, like this spec is just a good time. Like I can be doing tank damage and I don't care. Like the visual feedback, the audio feedback is enough alone to just carry the spec all the way to the S tier. This spec is going right up there with Havoc. I mean, it could be top. I don't know. I think, yeah. I like the amount of procs. You're just always getting procs on this spec. Like I'm just always pog champing. Like I literally make a pog champ with my face when I'm playing this spec. Like it has to be the top of S tier. Skill differential. Is Arresto Shaman looking good? I'm not too sure. Subbreak feels amazing. Super burst damage every 1.5 minutes, but a ton of fun to play. Retweet that, Dave. Retweet that, my friend. Low int low making a comeback, Rob? Is that the Arcane Mage or? Eddie's going to get nerfed. Well, it's lucky this is a fun tier list, isn't it? So the Shami counterpart then, we have the Enhanced Shaman. Much like I said for Elemental, the Stormbringer tier set better be the play because it just plays into everything that makes these specs so much fun. I feel like Ascendance feels better for Elemental, but Tempest feels better for Enhance. Getting guaranteed procs of Tempest in your Ascendance windows, which deals huge Tempest overload damage, feels incredible. It's got the visual effect. Like Tempest is definitely one of the best button presses in the game. But also, like that's not to say Ascendance also makes you feel like a god when you're playing Enhance as well. Because of Thorim's Invocation, you're just constantly like chaining out these chain lightnings or lightning bolts, spamming Storm Strike, which I don't know how they made one button just spamming one button so fun, but they did it. And Storm Strike also has 2 charges now. I don't know when that happened either, but my god, I just love spamming Storm Strike, or I guess Wind Strike during your Ascendance, right? And just seeing these chain lightnings just fire and fire and fire. Your Tempest procs, big Tempest damage. Tempest procs so frequently that you don't even need to take your main cooldown Feral Spirits now because it's proccing so many lightning wolves for you. So that frees up other talents to have more fun with. I just much prefer this version of Enhanced. Like the spammy kind of like feel good whack-a-mole rotation for me is like infinitely more fun than like the spinning of plates with like the old Elementalist build where you'd have to like spread your flame shocks, buff them up with your lava lashes. Not a fan of that, so I'd choose Stormbringer any day of the week. The only thing that I don't like about Enhance is, I mean, it's not I don't like it, I just feel like it's unnecessary, is Primordial Storm. I would personally just rather buff up a lightning bolt or a chain lightning instead of having my prim wave then turn into a prim storm. Like, it does it look cool? I haven't really noticed it. I don't know, but I just preferred the old way that the old prim wave worked out. Like, I'm pressing prim wave for, yeah, like I'm pressing prim wave to get big haste, right? So yeah, I would probably remove Primstorm if I had the choice. I don't know if there's some like interactions that I don't really understand with Wind Fury. I feel like there might be, but I know it's easy. I know it's just like kind of send and forget, but I just don't feel like we need it. So, Enhancement Chamois, we're going into the A+ tier above Fire. What have we got next? Now we have the Affliction Warlock, which unfortunately I think has, like, the problems with this spec has been even more so highlighted because Shadow Priest got 2 charges there we go, of Shadow Crash, and that's exactly what Afflock needs for Viletane. It needs 2 charges of Viletane, it needs cooldown reduction on Viletane, it needs Agony to last much longer for the duration. Any of these things, like, we'll take anything at this point, but they just need to change Viletane. It's putting so many people off of this spec, and they just do not seem to care. So, like, that is by far and away the biggest problem with the spec, and that's why it's going to be ranked lower, unfortunately. I'm also not a huge fan of Malefic Rapture, but I definitely can get over it more so than other people can. Like, there's a lot of AF diehards out there that, like, just do not want to touch this spec because of Malefic Rapture alone. I don't mind it because it's like every time you press that button, you know that like your damage is jumping up from like big bursts. But I mean, Legion AF was just the GOAT, right? Like, spam Seed of Corruption in AoE and get that nice, satisfying, big, juicy pop, especially with Sow the Seeds, where it's like 3 Seeds of Corruption. And then on single target and even cleave, use Unstable Affliction as your main spender. Get some priority damage out of that and just feed all of these UAs into each other to build up a fatty UA. That was peak Affliction, and unfortunately it's just kind of gone downhill since Legion. I don't know if it's a balancing issue, I'm not sure. I don't even feel like Affliction really needs an AoE spender or as such. Like, place more emphasis on the dots and just maintaining the dots, but then you need to make them actually hit hard, because AF is meant to be a dot spec, but it just does not feel like a dot spec at all now. It's not all doom and gloom. Like, I do have good times on Affliction, especially after your Soul Rot windows. It feels like you're fighting to overcap on Soul Shards and just spamming Malefic Rapture, and you know, like, just you can feel how bursty you're being during that. I like the extension on dots and like your Dark Glare cooldown. I do enjoy some parts of the spec. I think there should be an AoE Drain Soul mechanic somewhere baked in there. But yeah, AF is just not... It's always going to be held back. But yeah, AF is just always going to be held back by the Viletane issue, the glaring issue at the moment. So Affliction Warlock, I'm also going to place in the C tier behind Windwalker. Oh shit, you rolled a 5 buff. Let's go. Appreciate all the follows, gang. I think I also missed some subs. Chocolate, thank you for the prime. Let's go, baby. Thank you, thank you. Omega, thank you for the tier 1. And also Benners, thank you, guys. Jesus Christ, we're almost there, gang. We're almost there. Next up, Demonology Warlock. Now, this is definitely, in terms of gameplay, my favorite Warlock spec. However, the tier set for both specs is very passive and just bland and kind of boring, which is unfortunate. Well, I haven't really done notes for this spec. It does still, unfortunately, feel a bit slow off the mark when you're first in keys and when you're first in fights. It is a very rampy spec, but kind of like once you get going and you get chugging, as long as you don't have like big downtime, then you can like be a burstier spec. I mean, the spec is just so sick. Like the fantasy of it, like summoning Felguards, more Felguards, Gloom or Charhounds, having this army of imps around you, then buffing them all up with this big old tyrant that deals that makes them deal like insane damage during this, and that being on like a 1 minute cooldown and then having a bigger go on a 2 minute cooldown. I do love the way the spec plays, especially like Implosion is such a like comedic ability, but it's also so satisfying and fun and like feels great to press, right? Oh, I forgot the dogs. Forgot to mention the dogs. Oh well. I want to do that implosion bit again, I think. And then in AoE, you can fly all your imps into the mob. Like, it's such a comedic sort of button press, but it feels so satisfying to just fling all your imps in for big AoE damage. I do love, like, pretty much every part of this rotation. It's a little bit turrety, but like you get so many demon bolt procs that I actually feel like you're quite mobile as Demo, but you just feel slow. That's what it is. You feel slow as a warlock. That's the problem. Like, just zero mobility. This would be higher if the tier set was more fun and engaging, but it is just like extra passive damage basically. So I am going to put Demonology Warlock in at the top of the A tier. Fucking hell, my voice. And lastly, for the Warlocks, we have the Destruction Warlock. I don't really know why I was so in love with this spec on the Season 2 PTR, because nothing's really changed. And it's just, like, bland. It's very flavorful in terms of, like, class fantasy and, like, visual and even, like, somewhat audio feedback. But the rotation itself is just, like, ugh. There's nothing really to it. Like, it's just Rain of Fire spam in AoE, it's Chaos Bolt spam on single target with Shadow Burn towards the end, and in between that, you're just keeping from overcapping your Conflagrate and using Incinerate. That's it, right? Like, I guess the fun is really contributed here by, like, the visual feedback, I think. Like, it is a super flashy spec, and it is very nice to look at. But, yeah, I mean, the redeeming qualities of this, like, I do enjoy Channel Demon Fire as a button press and, like, extending your Immolation or your Wither through that. Cataclysm's also a fun ability. But outside of that, like, I'm kind of reaching. I mean, to be fair, I'll tell you what, like, by far and away, my most fun, like, phase of this, like, rotation is when you get your Mayhem procs. I like Havoc, but I do enjoy, like, the RNG element of Mayhem, where you can then start firing these Chaos Bolts in low target counts. Seeing 2 Chaos Bolts fire at the same time is never not going to be rewarding. So I do definitely enjoy that. The tier sets, I've only really played... I feel like I'm butchering the fuck out of this. I might just do it again, chat. We can all pretend like we didn't see this, right? Last up then for the Warlock, we have the Destruction Warlock. I don't really know why I spoke so highly of this in terms of fun going into Season 2, because not a whole lot has changed going into Season 3. It's very simple and bland self, unfortunately. Spam Rain of Fire in AoE, spam Chaos Bolt and Shadow Burn on single target. I do enjoy Channel Demon Fire, extending your Immolation or Wither and kind of sending that on cooldown to keep them up on the mobs. But apart from that, I feel like it just relies on its, like, visual feedback to kind of carry this spec and make it fun. It is super flashy. No one can argue with that, especially when you're playing with, like, Mayhem and being able to fire off 2 Chaos Bolts, like, quite frequently. I definitely prefer playing Mayhem to Havoc. But outside of that, it's just kind of, like, boring. It's just very simple and easy. And maybe, like, that is what it's meant to be, right? And maybe that's where, like, I'm just not going to mesh well with this spec. But yeah. The tier set, I've played some Diabolist. Diabolist is actually, like, to be fair, I've got to give credit where it's due. Diabolist does spice up the rotation. You get your Ruinations, Infernal Bolts. That does make it gives it a bit more variance to the rotation, right? But the tier set's super passive, and the tier set for Hellcaller is even more passive, and it plays into what I already don't like about Destruction, and that being Blackened Soul being, like, your top damage. I feel like that's such a weird damage source for that to be your top damage. Doesn't really make sense because I enjoy Phantom Pain being your top damage on Marksmanship Hunter, Dark Ranger, but I would much rather see, like, Rain of Fire at the top of my damage meter, like, at the end of the dungeon, alongside, like, your Infernal, I guess. And then Blackened Soul can be, like, there. I don't want it to be, like, by far and away the top damage source for my Destro lock, right? So, Destruction... it's not for me going into season 3, unfortunately. I am going to place Destruction just behind Boomy in the B tier. Yeah, I mean, it does have its moments. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, any spec is fun in mass AoE, right? Except Fury Warrior, but we'll get onto that. But yeah, I guess Destruction is fun in mass AoE, and it is flashy. Like seeing that, like literally, like all of those, especially like the green meteors coming down, right, from your Rain of Fire, pretty sick. But it's not enough for me. I need something more. So the last two then, we have the infamous warrior specs that are very hard done by at the moment. Arms needs some loving. Still, none of its cooldowns are lining up with each other at all, which feels awful. You're just meant to send them on cooldown basically, but none of them line up with each other. So none of them are buffing each other's damage, which is just like, that's not what you want your cooldowns to be, right? You want to squeeze them all into this like huge damage bursty window. But instead with arms, you're just like sending one here, sending one there. It feels all just very clunky and horrible. Avatar needs to be a shorter cooldown. I don't think it's reduced by anger management currently, is it? But like you do feel like a colossal titan when you're inside Avatar, especially when you've got your Demolish, when you're playing Colossus. Your Demolish is... It's got to be up there with one of the most satisfying button presses in the game, as long as you don't die from it or as long as the mobs don't run away. But it fits the arms fantasy perfectly. I really cannot fault this ability. And like especially when you're in Avatar, and even after you're demolished, when you're in Avatar, you just feel like this like tyrant just like cleaving everything down. Speaking of cleave is... I actually do really enjoy spamming cleave in AoE, especially with like all the resets. Mortal Strike's fun in single target. And then, like, outside of cleaving in AoE, it feels like a lot of your damage, if you're not playing Dreadnought, a lot of your damage is just, like, single target or, like, cleaved with Sweeping Strikes. I feel like there's room there. Like, I know Sweeping Strikes is iconic, but I feel like there's room for Sweeping Strikes to work like Blade Flurry does for Outlaw Rogue, where, like, with the Precise Cuts talent, where, like, Sweeping Strikes could allow your abilities to hit, like, let's say, even, like, let's say 5 targets, but then the lower... amount of targets that are present, your abilities cleave for higher damage, if that makes sense. I feel like there's just a lot of room with arms. I feel like they just don't give a shit about warrior at all. But like I can have fun on this spec. It's just the cooldown issue is the main issue. So I'm going to put arms at the top of C, I think. And then finally, for the fun tier list, we have the Fury Warrior. I do actually still really enjoy Fury. Like, outside of... We're trying to forget here how damn bad Fury is with its 5 target cap, which does also... Like, it hurts its performance, but it does also hurt its fun aspect as well. Like, when I'm on an... my voice. Like, when I'm on an Outlaw Rogue and I'm capped at 8 targets, I feel like there's not that many pulls where, like, you're really going over by that much, and I feel like I'm hitting the majority of the pack with Outlaw. I don't really notice it. But Fury, it's kind of wild that it's still hard capped pretty much at 5 total targets. It does decent damage to compensate for that, but it's just not good feeling and like knowing that you're only cleaving down like a fraction of the pack, right? Like that's just not a nice feeling. But outside of this target cap, I do still enjoy like the flow of this spec. It's super fast paced and bursty. It's always getting its cooldowns back, and you're always just like constantly dumping these rampages that are cleaving. So I do enjoy and like have a good time on the spec, especially with Mountain Thane. I think Mountain Thane kind of adds the much needed visuals that Fury or Warrior in general needs. And when you press Thunderblast, like, to be fair, Thunderblast has got to be one of the best feeling button presses in the game, in my opinion. It does feel super meaty when you press that button. Yeah, exactly, Kieran, exactly. And then with Mountain Thane as well, you also get these Bloodthirst resets where you can press Bloodthirst like 3 times back to back, which feels really nice. I think it also helps that the button actually lights up, but that's probably just me being small brain and needing that dopamine hit. But I do enjoy that part of the gameplay as well. But yeah, unfortunately for Fury, I think that the target cap is also just highlighted by the dungeon pool that we have in Season 3 as well. There's so much mass AoE, and it's not going to feel good knowing that you're like barely touching the sides of the pack, right? So the Fury Warrior, I do enjoy it more than Arms, and I am going to put it in the B tier. I'm going to put the Fury Warrior. You know what? It's going to go quite high in the B tier, actually. So that is my fun tier list for Season 3, ranking all of the DPS specs against each other in terms of fun, like based on their gameplay and rotation. We've got Elemental at the top alongside Havoc, Hunter. I feel like Ret and Frost and Arcane are a little bit lower than these three. Like, I'm really enjoying these three. And then by far and away, we have Outlaw at the bottom. This spec needs God. It feels awful right now on the PTR. Hopefully that's not just me, but yeah, also obviously this is subjective, so you guys might have different opinions to that, and you might enjoy Outlaw. You might love spamming Sinister Strike for a whole key and never rolling more than 2 buffs. I don't know. What do we think, gang? What would you change? Tell me. Fucking hell, my throat. You did pretty well with your prediction. Okay. Ellie at the bottom of S. That's, well, I suppose you didn't do it in order, did you? Demo, I was close to putting Demo in A+. Ret, I think I just have too much fun on it. Then A tier looks good. I would not have expected you to have put Asa that high. But I think that key that the small part of the key that I did on Asa the other day really helped with that. Have you played some MM post nerf? Thoughts? No, I haven't. I haven't, Smee. I have not. I'm sorry, Ash. To be fair, I feel like I didn't really talk with chat at all. I kind of just wanted to get through that, but it still took fucking forever. Yeah, people do enjoy Windwalker, but I just don't think it is for me, unfortunately. Right now, which is a shame, because like I said when I was ranking it, like I do normally thoroughly enjoy Windwalker, but just not right now. God, my voice is shot. I think, chat, what I'm gonna do is I might call it there for today and get this edited and get this maybe even out tonight on YouTube. If not, it would definitely be over the weekend. Oh, see, I was going to host Gage, but I feel like he's a bit of a liability, isn't he? So yeah, sorry that I know it's only been 2 hours, but I think my voice is literally about to fucking break. And I also need to crack on with the dungeon guides as well. I've got 2 more that I need to record, which I definitely won't be doing tonight, but I also need to edit up the Dawnbreaker and Arakara guides. So yeah. Sorry about your throat, mate. What's that about, buddy? What's going on there, huh? Who are we gonna host today, gang? Let's send you guys over to... I don't know. We've raided Billy a lot recently, haven't we? Let's send you guys over to Kale. I don't know if he's like... he's a pumper mage. That I saw randomly on YouTube. I don't know... Oh, shit. Raid. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, I was, but I was typing it in caps, so I think that messed it up. So yeah, he can show you guys how Mage is looking on the PTR. I don't know how long he's been like a creator for. I don't know if he's like new to creating. Is he a new Mage? No. I mean, no. He can't be. He looks like a fucking beast. But yeah, W stream gang, I know it's a short one, I'm sorry about that, but we've got the season starting next week, right? So I'll get whatever my main is going to be geared and ready for the season. We'll be doing a the last power tier list before the season goes live on Monday, so be there or be square, and then that'll also go up on the YouTube. The fun tier list will be going on YouTube over the weekend, so make sure you're subscribed there. If you're not in the Discord, there is the Discord. But yeah, then we're also going to do an easiest to hardest tier list next week as well at some point. So keep an eye out for that. A lot of you guys have been asking for that. But a lot of tier lists at the moment, but it's tier list season, baby. So yeah, I think this is kind of the last tuning that we've got, right? So I imagine whatever this tier list is going to look like is going to be how it's going to look going into the season. So it should help you guys pick your mains if that's how you're going to go about it. W Stream gang, have a lovely weekend. Let me know what you're up to inside the Discord. And I'll catch you on the flip side on Monday, people. Keep an eye out for the dungeon guys over the weekend as well. And go say what's up to Kale. Peace out, people.